Hello, welcome. My name is Nicole, and this is a half-hour Pilates-inspired class for folks who want to move a little slower and or particularly folks who are recovering from COVID, because we're going to spend a lot of time focusing on breath and moving slow, making sure you don't get your heart rate up. And that being said, please know that anything I do that feels a little too much, you can please take your time. If I'm cueing an exercise a little faster than you want to be moving right now, or breathing, if I'm cueing breath faster than you want to be breathing, please feel free to take your time and do as much or as little of the class as you want. You can always take a break and hop back in. And since this is a recording, you could even pause, take your time, and start it again when you're ready. That being said, don't worry, it won't be too zany. I just want to take a moment to share a portion of my screen. So I do this work totally just because a friend of mine is a long-term COVID recovery person, and she was taking my Pilates classes and she loved them. She, again, did as little or as much as she wanted, depending on the day. And she suggested I do this. So I'm on a pay what you can model. I do this with my Pilates classes as well as with this class. And so this is what I wanted to share. So this is me. I do group classes and privates. And if you want to pay anything, if you can, usually no more than $8. My Venmo is here, nicki-kontolefa, or my email, nkontolefa@gmail.com. All right, let's get started. So what you'll need is just either a beach towel, a blanket, or a pillow, something to bolster your body at different points. So for instance, we're gonna start laying down on your side, and this is gonna act as a nice little pillow to keep your neck aligned as you reach your arms forward in front of you. Let's see, do you have a good view? I'm gonna lower the screen. There we go. And your knees bent at the sideways tabletop position. So you make this work for you, right? I need a little higher up, so I'm gonna fold it up to make it feel extra comfortable here, that I'm not getting a crick in my neck. So from this position, we're gonna start with a little rotation to open up the breathing. So from here, you take your top arm, you lift it up to the sky, and you open it out all the way behind you. And then reach it forward again. So we're just gonna warm up a little bit into this movement before we stay there. So you reach it up and open. Take a big breath and then come forward. And two more times, just moving through the 2 points here. And close. And then open up one last time. Hold here. If this is feeling like a big twist in your lower back, it's a little uncomfortable, you pull your knees in a little closer. But probably you're feeling a stretch in your shoulder, in your bicep, in your chest, up along this rib cage here. Take a moment to try to feel the breath moving into this top lung here. So maybe your arm is melting all the way to the floor, maybe not. But feel that with your breath, you're stretching these muscles in between the ribs and the back and the waist. And perhaps getting a little softer in this position. Slowly bring that arm forward. And you can just roll over to the other side. I'm going to flip around so that you can continue to see and hear me. But you can turn away from the screen if you started facing me. And again, the arms will be stacked, your knees out in front of you like a tabletop. Make sure you have room behind me. I'm going to scooch a little forward. And we're going to start to open up the other side of your chest and ribs. So lift that top arm up, open it out to the side. Take a breath here. And then reach the arm up and forward again. Reach that arm up and back, letting your chest fall open, facing the ceiling or the sky. And lift up and over. And again, reaching up and open. This is a spine twist, right? We're moving the arm, but the twist is happening really in your torso, in your ribs, and your spine. Come on up and over. And last time, we'll stay here for a few more breaths. You can get comfortable, kind of scooch if you need to. And hold in here. You might feel that stretch again in your shoulder and the front of your chest a little bit, the pecs, even the bicep. Through this top side of your rib cage. And then reach your arm up and forward and come to rest. So from here, you're going to lay down on your back. I'm going to lower my bolster. I'm going to keep it under my head because most of us need a little extra support under the head. But if you want to get rid of it, you totally can. So from here, take a moment to just settle in. Feel the sides of your body maybe a little longer than they were when you first got here. And start to inhale through the nose and exhale out through the mouth. Inhale through the nose. A little deeper, a little longer than your usual breaths. And exhale a little deeper, a little longer than usual. And inhale, feel the ribs expand. And on the exhale, feel your belly lower or deflate down towards the mat. That's your abdominals already naturally engaging to help you breathe. So inhaling, the ribs expand. And exhale. We're going to start to add some movement here. On your next exhale, you're going to gently tuck your pelvis. That means you flatten the lower back into the mat, tucking your tailbone up just a little bit. Inhale, tilt your pelvis forward, arching the lower back a little off the mat. Exhale to tuck, pulling the belly button in, pulling your whole front of your body in. Inhale, you tip that pelvis a little forward to arch the lower back. And exhale to tuck, flattening the lower back. Inhale to tilt it forward. Exhale to arch. Inhale to tilt. Exhale to tuck. Again, going at your own time. If I'm going a little too fast, inhale to tilt. Exhale to tuck. Hold here, hold in the tuck. Start to lift your hips up a little into a bridge. Not very high. Just try to feel the back of the legs activate and then roll your spine down. If your bolster is high, if you have like a pillow from your couch or something, take it out from underneath your head because you don't want to let your neck get tight or shortened here in your bridge. Lifting up and lower down. Tuck and lift. So we're trying to articulate the spine, meaning you lift one bone at a time, finding a little bit of flexion or bending in between each vertebrae on your way down, and then tucking on the way up as well. Tailbone, sacrum, lower back, middle back ribs, and then roll down. Let's just do two more. You're rolling up as little or as much as you want. You might be pushing up because it feels good to open up. You might be keeping it really low to the ground if it feels like a lot of work. I'm more interested in that articulation, getting your spine to bend, to feel that movement in the lower and middle back. Okay, enough of that. Let's start to move that upper spine. So take your hands behind your head, inhaling through the nose. You're going to exhale, pull those abdominals in and curl your head, neck, and shoulders up. Inhale to lower down, abs are still working. Exhale to curl yourself up. Inhale to lower down. Exhale to curl yourself up. Inhale to lower down. Exhale. 4 more. Think about this again as a way to bend your spine, right? We're bending right under the sternum and the shoulder blades here. Lifting head and shoulders up a little bit. 3 more. The abs still working on the way down to support your neck. 2 more. And lower the head down. If your neck is feeling it, you rock your head left to right. Now find that bolster or pillow that you had and make sure it's somewhat even, not too crumpled up, because you're going to place it under your pelvis. So lift your hips up again into that little bridge, slide it under your butt. You basically want your sacrum, or the heaviest part of your pelvis and tush, to be right on top of whatever it is that you're using. If you had a foam roller, you could also put it under here. Take your arms along by your sides. If you do have a foam roller, you're probably going to hold on to the sides of it and pull your abdominals in a little bit. So now they're just engaged, not necessarily connected to your breath. You're still inhaling and exhaling, but the belly is a little active, right? It's a little flat, it's a little tight. So try to maintain that while we start moving the legs around. So on an exhale, you'll lift your leg up, whichever one you want. Lift it up to a tabletop position. Inhale, keep your belly flat and working. As you lower it down, lift the other leg up on the exhale. And inhale to lower. Now we're trying to keep the pelvis from rocking left to right. So going on your own time, you exhale to lift, inhale to lower. If you mess up the breath, if you do the opposite, no big deal. The game is the same. You're trying to keep your belly flat and engaged. Keep your hips still. Surprisingly hard. If you're really like micro attentive to it, not letting it shift at all, not even a little. And you'll start to feel the whole abdominal wall from your ribs to your hips having to really brace your pelvis, basically, as you move your legs. Now, as you do this at your own time and your own pace, can you still breathe and keep the belly engaged? Exhaling to lift. Inhaling to lower that leg down with control. Exhaling to lift. Is the suggested breath. Do what you can, though, to keep breathing and moving. Whew. Let's do one more set. If you're going a little slower, you might just do one more repetition. And then hold one leg up. So from here, you might need to scooch a little, you might need to prepare, but you're going to pull the belly in even more, deflate those abdominals even more, and lift the other leg up. So both legs are up now. Now we're getting a little harder. You're going to lower one leg down some amount. Maybe you touch the floor, but maybe not. Lift it back up. Because you want to keep your hips still. You want to keep your belly flat. It's not easy. If you're up on something very high, just be extra mindful that you're not arching your back. I mean, everybody, we should all be mindful of that, honestly. But if you're up on a hard foam roller, it might be harder to touch the floor, right? I'm only an inch off of the floor really on this bolster, so I can get all the way down there. Keeping my belly pretty flat. One more. You might be starting to feel those quads firing up. They're working as well. It's okay. Last set. Ooh. And then bring those knees into your chest and let your pelvis tuck. Your lower back is rounding down to the mat. If you've got a foam roller, you're still holding onto it. And then start to draw some circles with your knees. Let this be a little massage for that lower back, for the place where your glutes and your lower back meet. Reverse those circles. And then hug just your right knee in and stretch the left leg out long with this little lift of the hips. Hopefully you feel a nice stretch of your left quad and hip flexor, especially as you pull the right knee in closer to your chest. Feel that stretch and flex and point both feet 5 times. Remember that you can always use your exhales to re-engage those abdominals. Last set of pointing and flexing, and then we're going to switch legs. Hug your left knee in and stretch the right leg long. Feel that length on the top of your right quad and hip. Pull the knee in as close as you want. Flex and point. Flex and point. Flex and point. 2 and 1. And then both knees come in. So now you're gonna hug your right knee in and stretch your left leg out to a high diagonal. Pull those abdominals in first. Before you get moving, your abs are in and you're breathing. So you might inhale as you stretch the first leg out and exhale as you stretch the other leg out and switch your legs back and forth. Now, if you wanna move a little faster, challenging that stability in the pelvis more, you would breathe slow even though your legs are moving fast. If that feels like a lot, you still want to move slow, just breathe with each switch. Always up to you. I'm going to do one more set, pulling in the right and then the left. Bring the feet flat on the floor, knees are bent. Pull those abdominals in, exhale, lift your hips up into a bridge. Take that bolster, towel, pillow, whatever you got out from under your tush and roll your hips back down and just take a moment to appreciate that space in your lower back. You might feel a little more arched here, a little longer. You might feel flatter into the mat. Just breathe into that new space. All right, so now we're gonna curl up and move our legs around. So bring your knees into your chest to start. Bring your hands behind your head. And on an exhale, curl your head, neck, and shoulders up. Bring your legs to tabletop. If you're curled up, maybe you take a look at your abs and make sure they're flat, they're not popping out. Can you pull them in a little more? So you want them to be pulling in and flat across. From here, you have options. You could lower one foot down, lift it up, lower the other foot down, lift it up. Or you could lower both feet, maybe only halfway down and lift up. That's harder. And down. Whatever you're doing, do like 3 to 5 more of these. As you can hear, moving slow can be challenging in the core. It is really hard. So I'm going to do one more. And then bend the knees in, lower the head down. Reaching the arms forward, put your feet flat on the floor again. We're going to lift up into a bridge. This time, maybe you'll lift up a little higher. So tuck your pelvis, lift your hips up. This time, reach the arms up to the sky and then all the way back behind you. This is a little bit of a stretch. So you're going to reach your arms back, 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 and then try to articulate that spine down bone by bone, reaching your hips towards your feet. And just notice there might be parts of your spine that don't feel like articulating. Those muscles are a little tight to the bone. Once you get all the way down, you reach the arms forward. Tuck and lift the hips up. Reach the arms up and back. Push the fingers long behind you as you roll your hips down. It's like you're giving yourself a little traction here. Breathe. Reach the arms up and forward. Tuck and lift. This is the last one. Reach the arms up and back. Breathe as you roll down. Try to articulate. Notice the tight spots. and then reach the arms forward. So you have options here to come up if you're feeling a little randy, and you can just rock yourself up to seated. If that seems a little like too zany, you're gonna roll over to one side, push yourself up to seated, and then sit with your knees bent and your feet flat on the floor. So we're gonna do a little bit of half roll downs here. Again, working on articulating the spine. So I like to use my hands here to find a really tall, straight spine. So I'm literally pulling my thighs towards me, like in and down, to help lift my lower back and my upper back to really, really tall. On an exhale, the first thing to move is your abs. Your abs are gonna go in, and then you move your bones. You tuck your tailbone just like you did when we were doing those bridges, and you roll back halfway or so. That usually means like where your elbows are straight. And then you bend the elbows and round forward. Think nose or forehead to your knees. And then stack it on up. Nice and tall. You can use your arms. Exhale, the abs go in first. Then you tuck and rock back, rounding your spine. Now, to be honest, I'm not a great example. You want to probably tuck and be a little more rounder in your lower back than I can usually do. So try to get a little rounder. Unless it hurts your back, then stop. And then round forward, nose to knees. Again, rounding, stretching. If you're tight like me, you'll probably feel a stretch somewhere along that spine. Exhale, abs, then bones, rounding back. Maybe you get a little lower this time. Either way, you're pulling those abs in to round forward. I'm also using my arms, right? You can always use those arms to help guide you up evenly and lift. We're gonna do this 2 more times. Abs, then bones, roll back halfway. Scoop the belly, round the spine. And come up. Scoop the belly, tuck the tailbone under you. Your tail is reaching for the space between your feet. That always helps me actually round quite a bit more, that feeling of the reach of the tailbone. Scoop the abs and then round forward, forward, forward. And come on up. From here, we're gonna roll over onto your stomachs and work that upper back a little bit. So place your hands one on top of the other underneath your forehead. If this doesn't feel good for your shoulders at any point, you can bring your arms down by your side and maybe bring the pillow so you don't have to be totally face down in the mat. But if it's not a problem for your shoulders, keep your hands here, make your pillow. And then take a moment here. We're going to do a lot of engagement of the body without even moving. And then we'll start to lift the head and chest up. So first things first, pull your abdominals in and up. Try to feel them actually lift off the mat. Maybe they won't actually lift off the mat, but energetically they are heading up towards the ceiling. All right, so lift up more than you think you can. And then send your glutes towards your feet. So the glutes kind of engage down towards the feet. Then reach your feet back. So you're activating the quads and the calves as you reach your toes back, 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 back. And then these forearms, if they're right under your forehead, you're going to pull them a little bit back. So it feels like your shoulder blades are trying to slide down towards your hips. And then once all of that is engaged, hold it for a moment. It's a lot. And then relax. So my head is turned to the camera, by the way, but as soon as you know what you're doing, put your forehead straight down so that your neck is straight, okay? So you don't get a crick in your neck. So again, pull those abs in. Send the glutes towards your feet. Reach your toes, activating the legs. Then pull those forearms almost like you're gonna pull the mat under you more. And then release it all. Really good. Last time, and then we're gonna start to lift the upper body. So abs lift. Glutes reach, legs reach, forearms pull back, quite active. Now your head, chest, and heart lift and lower. Can you keep this engagement? It's a lot going on. Find the belly again, pull it off the mat. Find your glutes. as you lift and as you lower. If you're pulling your forearms back, the neck should feel pretty easy, hopefully. And you could be lifting up really from these muscles between and below your shoulder blades, which is what we want to do here. We've got 3 more. And 2. Are the feet still reaching? Or is the belly still lifting? Last one. And lower down. Ooh. Sway your hips a little. You can rock it out. And now we're going to do it again with an option to make it harder. If that was already really hard, just do 5 more of those. If you want to make it more challenging, we're going to do all the same stuff with the body, but lift either one arm or both arms, okay? So let's get into the full engagement of the body first. So abdominals in. Can you still breathe while you hold them? Glutes towards your heels. Reach the feet back. Quads squeezing, calves squeezing. Then the forearms pull back. If you're lifting your arms up, you can still have that feeling and lift the arms up with the head, chest, and heart and lower. And lift. Abs, forearms pulling back, toes reaching back. I'm going to do 3 more. This is hard, 2. It feels kind of good. And the last one. And then lower down. Check in with yourself. Did you manage to breathe? You're going to push yourself back into a child's pose. So hands under your shoulders, help yourself, walk your knees forward. Open them quite wide on the mat so when you sit back, your waist can fall between your thighs and reach your arms forward. For the child's pose, it's so important to put your head down. Sometimes we're tight and the floor seems a little far away. So go ahead and grab that bolster if that's the case. Or you could also even put your fists under your forehead if you can't make it down to the floor. But you want to be able to let your head rest. So you don't have to hold it up. We hold it up all day, right? While we're here, being as active or as relaxed in this stretch as you want, think about breathing into your back ribs. Your ribs are the ones that come across here, but you also have these ribs down here. We call them the floating ribs because they don't wrap all the way around. They're like right above your natural waist. Can you feel even those ribs move with breath? Your lower back. Take 2 more breaths, just like this. Trying to feel that back body. And then we're going to come onto your side again, how we started, except this time we're going to work a little bit the hips. So if you want to place your pillow or your bolster back under your head, you're welcome to. You can also just lay like this, like in the old Jane Fonda videos. So like this, or if your neck has a little crick in it, you can rest your ear on your bicep. So you have lots of options. This is what it might look like if you use your pillow. Your bottom arm might be out from under you. Either way, your legs are going to be stacked just like they were at the beginning, but this time a little bit more active. So your top arm, wherever this bottom arm is fine. But this top arm wants to push a little into the floor just to help you kind of engage your shoulders open and your abs in. And then you're going to lift just the top knee and lower. It's a classic clamshell, right? Strengthening those hips, which will give relief to your lower back and your knees, your hips also, which, by the way, another modification, if you're feeling this in the front of your hips ever, you can move the knees a little further away and open up those hip flexors. So one of the goals of this work is to try to start to differentiate the movement of your leg from your hip bone. Right? A lot of times they start moving always together and then you kind of wear out your lower back. But we want to flex in the hip socket. You got 2 more of these. And then lower down. If it's like, ooh, haven't used those in a while, give it a little massage. But now you're going to lift up your whole leg. in parallel and start to bicycle. So I like to always start from the back here. So I'm really reaching my heel back, getting a nice stretch, and then I'm going to start the bicycle motion, bending the knee, extending the leg, and then sweeping it back. It's a giant, kind of absurd bicycle. 2. So I'm going to do 8 in each direction. 3. If you need to take breaks along the way, please do. 4. Notice I'm trying to keep my leg totally parallel to the floor. I'm not letting it dip down or the knee dip down. That's really important so that we, that we don't stress out the hip, right? If you're pulling the foot down, you're kind of pulling on these muscles that we're trying to contract and use. All right, that feels like 8. So for back pedaling, for the reverse, you push out behind you, sweep the leg forward, pull those abdominals in to help, and 2. This is about, well, it's about a lot of things, but what I like about it is that it's for range of motion, to get our hips moving in a way that maybe we don't get to every day, right? If we're not running or swimming or taking giant strides. All right, I'm going to do one more. Remember how many you did. If you did a different amount, lower down, so that you can do that amount on the other side. Give yourself a little this. And then let's stretch out the hip before going to the other side. So you're going to lay down on your back. If that was your right leg that you just worked, you take your right ankle, put it over your left knee, and pull your left leg in towards you. You're going to rock a little bit left to right. If this feels impossible to reach your leg, if it feels too far, maybe you're just here pushing your thigh bone away. Sit in that one all day. Okay, you can roll over and turn away from the screen. We're doing the same exact thing. Or you can flip over. I'll flip so you can hear and see me if you need me. Or I guess if you're on your phone, you might just roll over and take the screen with you, I guess, right? So lying down, top hand on the floor. Knees are stacked, maybe a little further away from that 90-degree angle in the hips. Pull those abdominals in. Feel that deflating sensation, that tightness, that just kind of general engagement here as you lift just the knee up and lower. Thinking of keeping the hip. That's another thing you can do with your hand, actually, because sometimes it's hard to really feel what's happening there. Is put your hand here and just be like, stay still, hip. Because otherwise, you might not notice that this is happening. Four, 3, 2, and a 1. Lower it down. Lift your top leg up. Sweep it back. And then start the bicycle forward. So bend the knee, pull it in, extend, and sweep it back. I'm going for 8 of these. It's up to you. Please take your time and take your rests as you need them. I've gotten feedback that these side leg series can be really hard sometimes. So, if you need to take a break, don't beat yourself up about it. You can always work towards doing 8 the next time. We've got 2 more left. Last one, and then I like to usually stop at the back also for my back pedal, where you sweep it forward, bend the knee, and send the foot back. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, keep the breath flowing. Forget sometimes also. right, one more. And then when you're done, you can lower that leg down, roll over onto your back, cross that working leg ankle over the opposite knee, and you can either pull the leg in. If you want even a deeper stretch, you might be quite flexible where it's harder to find that stretch. You might push your elbow of that stretching leg into the knee as you pull this base leg in towards you. That opposition can deepen your stretch. Whew. Feel that one. All right, again, based on how you're feeling, maybe you're gonna rock yourself up to seated. Maybe instead you're gonna slowly roll over to one side, help yourself up. Wherever you're at, however you got up here, take a crisscross applesauce position and just sitting up nice and tall. We're gonna take a little side bend and then we're done. So reaching your arms out to the side. Let's take one hand down and reach the other hand up to think of the diagonal where the wall and the ceiling meet over there. Not the floor necessarily. Think up. And then push. And think to the other side of the room. Or the corner of your Zoom screen, maybe. You can see yourself. For my one person who's doing it live. And come up. Again, if I'm doing this a little too fast and you want to stay here, that is totally fine. I'm going to do one more round. It's up to you if you want to just switch to one side. And then come on up to a seated position. Take a moment to breathe. Feel those ribs expand. Feel the belly, hopefully a little active. You don't need to be pulling it in too hard, but just feeling that the muscles are a little engaged. They're lifting you up. Take another breath. And you are all done. So I hope this was useful and nice, and please feel free to also email me with any requests or feedback in that same email address I put in the front or the top end. And yeah, and I'm going to stop recording. Yes.